Kids don't forget.
Kids don't forget.
You kids don't forget.
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 Monica, how are you?
I'm good.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Did I say your name correctly?
You did.
Has your name ever been mispronounced in the history of your life?
Yes.
It has. What have you gotten?
Monica, Monique, Mona, and Monica.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Like Monica. Like broken down, Monica.
So let's hear you say it.
Monica.
Monica. Got
I've
it.
forgotten my nigga also.
Oh, you got my nigga?
My nigga. Yeah.
Wow.
No,
wow.
it's just Monica.
Does it aggravate you when your name gets mispronounced?
If I don't like the person. If I don't like the person, yes.
Got it. What were some of your nicknames growing up?
Moni in the middle, Mo.
Who called you Moni in the middle?
One of my sister's old boyfriends used to call me that. Like when he would see me, hey, Moni in the middle, he would just say that. Because at the time, that's when that song was out.
Right. So if somebody calls you that, you know who it is immediately.
Because he was the only person that did it.
Got it.
People would make reference to it, but it never stuck with other people. With
if
him,
you were like at an airport right now in like Minneapolis, Minnesota, somebody was like Moni in the middle, you would know who it is.
I would know exactly who they're talking to. Yes.
Got it.
And Moni is my nickname.
Okay, Moni.
Yeah, family, friends, people I grew up with, people that are really close to me. Like even if I get into like in relationships, if they always call me Monica, then after a while I'm like, yo, you need to start calling me Moni because Monica is too informal.
Okay.
So if you call me Monica, we're close, we don't really have a good relationship.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
people usually shorten my name down. We have a really good relationship.
And you get Mo too then?
I get Mo, yeah.
Okay.
I get Mo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you from?
North Philly.
You're from North Philadelphia.
23rd
Really?
and Lehigh, yep.
Say it again?
23rd and Lehigh.
23rd and Lehigh. Now does 23rd and Lehigh have a name? Because you know some of the neighborhoods have names like
like Brickyard
and Beirut and
Beirut. I never heard that. But nah, we were 23rd and Lehigh.
23rd and Lehigh.
We were just North Philly. That was it. It was really no, our area didn't have a nickname.
What was your neighborhood like growing up?
You remember Crooklyn?
Yes.
That was it. We often joke, we post memes every now and again, and someone will post a meme and say a meme from like Crooklyn, a scene from Crooklyn, and they'll name everybody that we grew up with. Like, this was you. So I think looking back, it was a lot like Crooklyn. It was fun. It was dangerous because I grew up in the time during the JBM and
what's JBM for people who don't know?
The Junior Black Mafia.
The Junior Black Mafia.
Yeah, so it was like,
a major gang in Philadelphia.
So it was like a lot of drug dealers and like it was just a hopping neighborhood, but that kind of came along. Cause I came up in the 80s.
Okay.
I was born in the 70s, but I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So you saw a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
As a child.
Like what are some of the things you've seen?
You shootouts right on the corner. Like it's almost similar to today, but back then I felt like it was a little more respectful because Sundays was always like no one was outside. No one blasted their music. The paper man came down the street, the fish man. So it was Sundays was like a day of reprieve.
Okay.
But during the week, anything could pop off at any time. But you still felt safe.
Okay.
It's a really weird...
How so?
I don't know. I just never felt scared in my neighborhood.
Okay.
Never felt scared. Like, if I ride through there now, I'm a little cautious. And that could be because I'm older. And I haven't, lived around there in over 20 years. But back then it was, you just knew what to do. You just knew you walking home at night, take your earrings off, put everything in your sneaker, you know, and just make sure you got your bag. You look for your bag, and you know, I don't know. It was just felt a little more. You was able to control the outcome of things than you are now. You
So
can kind of see who you could trust your gut back then. So you kind of knew, all right, you know what, that's too dark. I'm not gonna go down there. Or I know if I go down this street, everybody's gonna be outside in the corner. I'll be okay.
Right.
You know, so you kind of knew. You can predict the possible outcome if you make certain decisions. But now you could just be going in your door and something can happen. Back
Right.
then that wasn't as common.
So you really from the hood, like your street smarts are on 1,000.
I was born in the Bennett in the projects, literally in the bed in Chester.
Okay.
I was raised in North Philly,
Okay, got it.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
Chester, Philadelphia.
Chester, PA.
Chester, PA. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. I said Chester, Philadelphia.
So my instincts, I was born with instincts.
Got it.
So you had
Got
to have
it.
it. And I went to school in the Northeast. So
Okay.
we had to catch 3 buses to school.
Okay.
So you had like over an hour ride. So you had to develop a lot of instincts and street awareness.
And there was no cell phones for you to be glued to the whole time.
No cell phones. Not even beepers. Like,
Right.
you know, you walked in pairs or you just trusted, I guess. I don't know.
So did you ever have any problems at all in North Philly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't a fighter. I wasn't a fighter. Me and my sisters, we stood out because we had long hair, and back then that was the like in Crooklyn, when he was pulling the little Spanish girl hair. It was, people identified you based off of characteristics.
Okay.
So me and my sisters, we all looked alike, and we had long hair. So
Light skin, long hair.
I mean, light skin is subjective. I don't consider myself light skin.
Okay.
But when you're dealing with children and they're just quick to describe someone, they may describe me as light skin. But no, you had long hair, and I didn't fit in, but we stood out. So, and because I wasn't a fighter, I got picked on more.
Okay.
I was more, because my mom was like, you don't fight, you don't do this, you don't do that. And I just didn't fight. My sisters, on the other hand, were rumblers. They were big time rumblers. So, I became the target if I was by myself sometimes.
Got it.
And then I remember one time I decided I was going to flex my fighting skills. And I decided to, there was these girls on across Lehigh. So I lived on one side of Lehigh Avenue in North Philly. And the other side of Lehigh Avenue, we beefed.
Right.
Kid beef. You just didn't go over there.
Got it.
And one night I still caught myself looking for a fight. And I walked over there.
And you found it.
I found it, and I'll never forget it. And I said, I will never do that again.
Wait, so what happened?
I
What
jumped.
happened? So, they knew you. They was like, she from
We
the
just
other
didn't
side.
walk over there. They was tight over there. They
Okay.
was thick. It kind of broke off.
Like you were looking for one girl in particular?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And because they were picking on me. They would come over our side. They always walked in groups, so it was always like 5 or 10 of them.
Okay.
And they would catch us, 2 at a time or by ourselves. And I decided I got tired of it.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going over there.
And you went over there by yourself?
I went over there. I think one other person went with me.
Okay.
And we walked over there, and we got we got right on the corner of Lehigh Avenue. Then we was like, all right, we're going to cross. So we crossed over. We walked about half a block down. We ran into everybody. And we just had to start fighting because we was on the wrong side.
Right.
And we fought all the way back to Lehigh, to the corner. And then someone broke it up, and I went home. And my ponytail was pulled all the way out here. And I was jacked up, but I couldn't go in the house looking jacked up.
Right.
So my mom was going to be like, what are you doing outside looking for fights? And I fixed my hair, and I just went to bed and just took that L. But it was fine because that's not who I was. And I was trying to be someone that I wasn't.
Okay.
And that showed me that, that ain't my life. That's not me.
Got it.
So you go look for it, you won't find it. But I defended myself. So if it came to me, it was fair game. But going to look for a fight, that wasn't smart.
But you learned something about yourself that day.
I learned that, you don't go look for things you don't want to find.
I know that's right.
You don't do it.
So you mentioned your sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine that you are 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 10 years old, how old are your sisters?
Oh.
And by the way, do you have any brothers? So
6 sisters.
Six sisters.
6.
Can you wait? So are you the oldest, the youngest?
Okay, so my dad had a lot of kids.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad had 3 together.
Okay, got
So
it.
I'm the oldest.
Are the
Those
3 together the ones you grew up with?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are those 2? If you're 10.
So one is 8, and one is about 2.
Oh wow, so you're the
So I'm
oldest.
7 years, 7
Okay.
years older than the youngest.
Okay, got it.
Yep,
Got
and
it.
me and the 8-year-old, we were brought up like twins. So people
Okay.
thought we were twins. They didn't realize I was older. I mean, they knew I was more mature, but they didn't realize I was older than her.
Okay. So your other 3 sisters, did you like interact with them a lot?
My oldest, my mom has a daughter she has a daughter before me. That
Okay.
She had when she was a teenager. And she is 3 years older than me.
Okay.
And she wasn't raised with us.
Okay.
But she came to live with us when she was a teenager briefly. But she lived in Chester
Okay.
with her grandmother. So, but we came up with her. She just didn't physically live in our house with us. And my dad had his first daughter. She's about 7 years older than me.
Okay. If you're 10, she's 17.
Yeah, 17, 18.
Okay.
And then he had 2 with the same woman. So he had one with one woman,
Right.
their mom. She's not a woman, it's their mom. And then the other 2, I'm like right in the center of them.
Okay.
So I'm 2 months. Should I say their names? I don't know.
You don't have to say their names. You don't have to say their
So
names.
there's one of them. She's older than me, and then she's 2 years older than me, and then me and the second one, we're 2 months apart. I'm 2 months older than her.
So when you referred to your sisters who were fighters, were you referring to like who was you
All of
referring
them.
to? All of them.
All of them. I'm gonna
Okay.
get my sister to fuck you up. That's how I was. My older
Right.
sister, because my older sister she was the firecracker. She still is. She's the one. She's the last. She come through. She came through. People tightened up, and she hung with people who was like that.
Got it.
She came back then. She came through with the big earrings, the Jeep with the big sound, drug dealer boyfriend, and she jumped. It was who messing with you. She didn't care how old they was. Who messing with you?
Got it.
And then her friends, well, who messing with you? And then they roll up, and then so it was protection when she came around because you knew she was not gonna. She was jumping in on anybody.
What was that like? What was your relationship like with all your sisters?
The 2 that I'm wedged in between, we actually didn't really start building our relationship until our father died. So we knew them, but it was more like they're your sisters, but then we didn't see them for months.
Okay.
So as a child, you're like, well, how are their sisters and we don't see them? But, or, we're like, well, that's dad's friend's kids type thing. But when our father was murdered and we went to the funeral, we were just kind of like, oh, it just made sense. It was like, you really are our sisters. And then our moms, their moms, all the moms knew each other.
Right.
They had relationships. They knew each other.
Okay.
So they kind of was like, all right, it's time to just push everybody together. Well, the oldest one my mom helped raise her. She lived with us a lot. So we always knew her. But the other 2, their mom, she was just like, yeah, it's time.
So the ones you grew up with, like the closest, what was your relationship like with them?
It was the 4 of us, my older sister and the 2 younger ones. And it was good. It was good.
So you were the middle child then, literally?
I always say it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Because I'm the oldest. But then if you put us all together, I'm the middle.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So it depends on what combination you have with us.
Okay.
So, with the ones that lived with me, the two that lived with me, I was certainly the oldest. And it was cool. You know, it was cool. The youngest one, I treated her like my baby doll. So whenever I started working, you know, I would buy her things. You know, kind of like a surrogate mom to help
Right.
my mom out with her. The one next to me, we always had friction, but everyone said we were night and day. And that's how they would describe us, even in school. They would say, you know, Monica's night and Monica's day and she's night, because she was the one. She didn't play, she fought. And then the fact that we looked alike.
Right.
So going to school was a challenge, because I would go early in the morning and then she would come, you know, the next, you know, shift in school. And people would say, I just saw you at Fern Rock. And I'm like, you ain't seen me. I've been here.
Right,
so it
right.
was like that. But it caused problems sometimes, because she would have her own crew she hung with, and they would have their own beef with certain people. So they would see me and be like, oh, there she go right there. And I'm
And
like,
you don't
wait
even
a
know.
minute. Yeah, hold up. Like, yeah. So I mean, she came home and told me a story that she was at Fern Rock, which was the end of the subway line, to
Okay.
catch the next bus to take us to the far northeast. And someone thought she was me and went and pulled her ponytail, and she had a pencil in her hand, so she turned around and just stabbed him with the pencil. So, but you know, we used to get mixed up a lot. But if you saw us, you could tell the difference.
Right. Right.
But so we were night and day. We dressed alike. We had our, you know, sometimes had the same hairstyles, but personality-wise, we were just total opposites of each other.
Did you ever live with both parents at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So until when?
80, my dad, he was murdered in August 88. So I would say a year before that he lived with us. He was with us.
Okay.
My dad was back then you call a big shot.
Okay.
So he was, you know, in the street. Everybody knew him. Ladies' man, handsome, dark chocolate, wavy hair.
What was his name?
Albert.
Shout out Albert.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, women liked him.
Okay.
So, you know, it was my mom. He was about 12 years older than my mom. My mom was young. My mom was 20 when she had me. So she was already with him for, you know, a couple years before that. So she was young. So, you know, he had women.
Right.
So, and I think that caused a lot of friction between him and my mom. You know, he would leave, he would be there, then we wouldn't see him, then he'll come back. But his mother owned a lot of property, so we always lived in like houses she owned. So because we lived in those houses, he would just always come and be there, and then he would go back out. And, you know. I mean, the child seems forever,
Right.
you know, but it might have been a couple days, and then he'll come back, type thing.
What was your relationship with him?
I would say it was good. He died when I was I think I may have just turned 11.
Okay.
So I would say it was good, but he, you know, he did drugs. You know, back then it was like syrup and weed and stuff like that. So, and pills. They did that stuff back then. So, you know, I guess when he would come down off of that, you know, he would just be rageful. So that was kind of scary. So it was like I never really knew. I was timid. I was very shy and timid and quiet. So I never knew when he would flip. So I think my relationship with him was more, I loved him and I adored him, but I was a little hesitant.
Okay.
I didn't know when that rage would happen. You know, so.
My condolences too. We're sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Do you know what happened?
Yeah.
What ultimately happened to him?
A girlfriend of his killed him.
A girlfriend of his?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We believe she set him up. And he went to the house. I never forget. He came to our house like in August. And
This is August 88.
August 88. He came and he would just pop up. You know, you just see him come around the corner. And he'd be outside playing, and he would pop up and, you know, give us money or talk to us and make promises. I'm coming back, all this stuff. So this time he was like, no, I'm coming back, I'm marrying your mom. They weren't married. And, you know, as a child, you're like, oh, okay. You know, you're hopeful. And then a couple of days later, I knew something wasn't right. So my mom was laying on the couch, and she was looking out the window. It was at nighttime, like late at night, so they used to play like the Quiet Storm on the radio.
Right.
And she was looking out the window, and my dad was friends with a guy that was a radio DJ at the time. And I remember the guy announcing and something, he mentioned my dad's name on the radio.
Okay.
And I was just like, I remember just looking at my mom, and she was looking out the window, and she listened to the music, and I heard that, and then I was
Wait, so you found out about it through the radio?
No. I heard him announce my dad's name, but I don't remember why he said it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember him saying it, because I was like, oh, he said dad's name on the radio. And the next day, this was a Saturday, the next day, me and my sister was watching wrestling.
Right.
The Sunday morning wrestling. And my mom came in the room, and they had to talk to y'all. And we was like, yeah. She was like, your dad died. We was like, okay. And I just remember her saying that, and then I guess we went in our room. We shared a room. And we cried, but we just didn't know what that really meant
Right.
until the funeral.
Okay.
And then we went to the funeral, and we saw him laying there. We saw everyone crying, and, you know, being in the limo, it was kind of like nervous, like, well, what's going on, you know? And I think the funeral is when I realized
Reality set in.
Yeah, because I mean, I had been to a funeral maybe one time, and then right after the funeral, we went to North Carolina to a family reunion. So it was
Okay.
no connection, like, okay, we seeing this person and then we're leaving.
Right.
But for this one, it was like all the attention was on us. So,
But you were old enough to remember your dad vividly.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember him physically. I remember the cars he drove. I remember him knowing everybody and everywhere we went. I just remember how big he was, like tall and just towering over everybody. And I remember just everybody knowing him. You know, nowhere we went, he did not know. And the confidence he carried. It was like he would just walk in the room, and he drew the attention.
Okay.
Wherever he went. So, you know, as a child, you walk with someone who carries that much confidence and gets that much attention, you feel safe. So, that's what I remember most about him.
Was he from North Philly too?
No, he was from Ardmore.
Okay. PA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, on the other side of City Avenue. Yeah, Ardmore, Lower Marion.
Okay.
But he always stayed in the city. He was a city dweller.
Got
He liked
it.
the city.
Now your mother, is she from Philadelphia?
No, she's from Chester.
She's from Chester. Okay. Okay. What's your mom's name?
Ronette.
Shout out to Ronette.
Mm-hmm.
What was your
She just had
relationship?
surgery yesterday too, so
How's she doing?
she's doing better.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. How was your relationship with her growing up?
Oh, that was mom. That was Anchor. That was my mom. Man, my mom did everything, and took us everywhere. And when I became an adult, I realized that she did the best she could with the age she was, 22. Like, I couldn't have done what she did at that age with 4 children. And she just made it happen. I mean, she really, I don't think we didn't lack anything. I mean, looking back, I can see where deficits were. But back then, I don't think we knew we weren't hungry.
Right.
I remember having to boil water to take baths. I remember that.
Okay.
But it was like, oh, cool, we get to boil water, the hot plate in the bathroom.
Right. Right.
You know, it
Right.
was, like,
Right.
fun.
Right.
So now, like, you know, I'm like, all right, just boil some water and put it in the tub. Like, it wasn't.
You didn't know you were
inferior.
poor, basically.
Yeah.
It was like she made fun of stuff like that, and you
I
didn't
think
even
I was
know.
inferior to anything.
Right.
Like, it was like, all right, everybody, it's just the lights, you know, it was just, all right, the power's out. You just got to boil some water and, you know, to be back on tomorrow. And that's how it was. It was like, it was back on. Everyone loved her. Everybody. You know, she was another one that knew everybody, and everyone liked her. But my mom was, she was one of the very nice, but she had heavy hands. Like, she would fight too. But I never saw my mom fight as growing up, but I knew her temperament. I can tell she ain't to be played with. Like, if she had to, she would. But, then she just took care of us. I mean, she did what she had to do.
You
I
and
don't
your
remember
mom
her
were cool?
yelling at us a lot. Like, none of that. The only thing my mom did I didn't like was she smoked cigarettes.
Okay.
I hated that. That was the only thing I didn't like. Yeah, we were close. We were close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you become a parent yourself?
Yes.
How many beautiful C's do you have?
3.
3. What are their age ranges?
13, 8, almost 9, and I'm sorry, 9, almost 10, and 8.
Okay, so 13, 9, and 8. Okay, so you got a bunch of teenagers or preteens in your house.
Yeah.
You know your parents and the way they raised you because you were there. What would you say are some similarities and differences between your parents' parenting style and yours?
I'm a lot like my mom because I'm not a yeller. My mom wasn't a yeller.
Okay.
My mom she really was like a friend that you respected, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, she didn't, I'm your mother, do what I say. It was, you need to do this, and you just did it. So she carried the respect, but if she wasn't overbearing with the mothering thing. Me being the oldest and me being what she considered responsible and mature, she gave me more freedoms than she gave my other 2 sisters. So she and I had a different, and she'll say, I treated y'all according to your personality. So my personality was a little more laid back, so she gave me a little more rope. She's like,
Okay.
just go ahead. My other 2 sisters, the one after me, she gave her no rope.
So do you feel like you and your sisters had like completely different childhoods?
Absolutely.
I tell people that all the time. You can grow up in the same house with somebody and have a completely different childhood than they do.
My mom told us that.
Or than they did. Right.
My mom told us that. She said, all of y'all are going to view me in different ways.
Right.
It's just what it is. And it turned out to be true. And she's okay with that. She doesn't, some parents are very like, I did the best, I did this. My mom knew from the beginning, one of y'all not going to like me. Or, one of y'all going to have a different view of how I treat, how I raised y'all. But I did the exact same thing for everybody. She did the best she could. I would say I got slighted a little more only because I was more understanding. But on the back end, I got more privileges.
Okay.
So whereas I might not have gotten the new sneakers or whatever, I was allowed to travel, or I was allowed to work.
Now, you mentioned that. You said your mom was playful and she was always up for adventure and experiences. And that's a similarity with you. You like to take your kids places?
Yes. I think that's important to expose kids
Okay.
to environments.
Where have you taken them?
I've taken Florida. We haven't been out the country yet because I'm working on their passports.
Okay.
That's a goal. So I do want to take them to like Ghana, take them to someplace in Europe. Like, I have plans to the islands, things like that. But in the States, mostly the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm taking them up and down the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, those are the similarities. What would you say is different between your parenting style and your parents?
I think I'm a little more affectionate
Okay.
than my parents were. Like, consistently affectionate. And I think I talk to them as a group a little more. So, or my mom would talk to me because I was oldest and, she would share with me something. She wouldn't share it with the other ones. I talk to all 3 of them because I don't know their level of understanding. They may understand more than I think they do. So I try to talk with them about things they may be experiencing as siblings. So,
Example.
their dad and I separating.
Okay.
They're experiencing that together.
So
I
all three of them
know-
have the same father. Okay.
So I know that when they get older, I know they may view it differently, but if I talk with them enough now, they all won't have different stories.
Okay.
They'll all say, okay, well, we all agree on this. And I talk with them because I want them to be close. I want them to depend on each other. And I don't think that was enforced enough on me and my sisters.
Speaking of which, you also said previously that you run down stuff to them, credit cards. You talk about
Yes.
debt. You talk about
Buying a house
school.
when you turn 18. That's going to be your graduation gift before you even go to college. I want them to be
Really?
financial. Yeah, I told my oldest, I said, I put them all on my credit card so I can start establishing their credit.
Okay.
And it helps keep me mindful because I know they're on it. So I pay my stuff on time too, so their stuff can be good. And I told my oldest, I said, before you mess your credit up or before you start making hasty decisions because you're 18, first thing we're going to do is go and buy you a house. And I say you can live in it or it could be an investment property. They don't have to leave me. They can stay. But you're going to learn business because that's something I wish I was taught, and I have to learn it now as an adult. So I want them to understand business. College is not going anywhere. I don't think college is going anywhere.
Right.
And if you decide later you want to go, that's fine. But coming out of high school, going straight into debt is something I have a problem with. I was told you don't go to. I had an apprenticeship with 2 hair salons and one black owned hair school, and a girl I worked with who was an instructor who was going to have me as an apprentice so I can learn to do hair. And because the era I grew up in, it was, oh, you can't make money in that. You need to go to college. I've went to college. And now...
Where'd you go, by the way?
Temple.
In Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay,
Temple
okay.
University and
In North Philly?
In North Philly.
Okay.
Temple University and Wilmington University.
So, by the way, did you apply anywhere else?
Morgan State.
Okay, so you wanted to go to a
I wanted to
HBCU?
go- I wanted to go to Morgan State.
In Baltimore?
Yes.
Did you get accepted?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't go because financial aid. I didn't know how to fill all that stuff out and get room and board. Because I was about 20. I didn't go right after high school. So I didn't really understand. I didn't really have anyone walking me through it.
Right.
And it was, to me, complicated. So I was at the community college and I got a scholarship to go to Temple. So I said, well, I'll just take that and I can still work and stay home. It was just easier. And when I went to Temple, I was African American Studies and Clinical Psychology.
Okay.
So I got the HBCU experience through the African American Studies department.
And people always say that Temple University in Philadelphia is as close to a HBCU in a public school as you're going to get.
As you're going to get.
Right,
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was definitely a black program. It was very black. So I didn't miss out on anything. And my cousin at the time, he went to Morgan. So a few times I went down there and stayed with him. So,
Okay.
I mean, I kind of got, and my cousin went to Spelman, so I went down there. So I got the college, the HBCU
The black college experience.
But, my situation was I had to stay and go local.
So for your kids, you're not really pushing college or black college for that matter.
I'm not right away. I want them to find some kind of skill or trade that they can do that with their hands. So they'll always be employable.
Now, ultimately, is it their decision?
No.
No.
They don't have a
Okay.
decision.
Got it.
But no, they want to. They're creative and they're smart. So I think if I instill in them now to start looking for something, they'll find their niche and what they want to do. So no, they need to do. I'm strongly encouraging a leap year and just that break and just figure out who you are. I mean, college is important for development, but I think if you get a skill You can support and sustain yourself.
Okay.
You know, so and that's what's really important right now, being able to support and sustain yourself and pass something down. And that's what's being, I think, is missing. We're trying to push this academia on kids when half the stuff I learned, you can just go to the bookstore and get it. You know, it's really to impress employers. Well, who are they impressing? You got to come and impress them. You don't have to go beg no one for a job. You work with your hands, you can create your own job. And you can hire people. So I remember when I graduated from Temple, and I promise you, I came home, I was staying with my grandmother, and I looked at the paper and I said, wow. And my cap and gown, I never forget. I said, all that work for this piece of paper.
Right.
And the bills start coming in.
Right.
And I was still I couldn't afford them. So.
What year did you graduate from Temple?
2004.
04, okay.
Mhm. So I don't want that for my kids, you know.
Are you already noticing things in them that you see that they like?
My daughter is very creative artistically, so I think for her, she's designing.
Okay.
She's cutting up clothes, adding stuff. We're teaching her how to sew. So I think and she's always been creative, always, you know, been able to do something with her hands and just in artwork. So she already has the gift of handwork. So I just have to guide it a little bit to see what she can do. My youngest, I don't know yet with him.
Okay.
I think he's smarter. He's very smart, very, very intelligent and articulate. So I think anything I expose him to now, he'll eventually pick up. My oldest is interested in barbering.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
He has no problem finding an apprenticeship.
that's what I told him. Like, listen, dude, you would do barbering.
Right.
Like, all y'all can do barbering.
I'm quite sure whomever cuts his hair has no problem
Well, I
giving
know
him some
someone
tips.
is doing it.
Right,
So
okay.
he's running a junior barber academy, and I've been trying to figure out the logistics to get him to go. But I'm like, just get it now, and you'll always have a skill. So if you decide you want to go to college, okay, fine. You can make money. You don't have to take a job. You don't have to take time out your day to go to a job. You can have people come to you, and you can make a couple dollars. You know, you can hustle. You can create a little business for yourself. So I just want them to have the entrepreneurial mindset. That way they're never stuck without a job, ever. Like, they can always find a way to support and sustain themselves.
Got it. So speaking of school, I bet you don't remember all the schools you went to growing up.
I bet I do.
All right, let's go. Run it down. Kindergarten, go.
Kindergarten, I went to Gompers
Where is Gompers?
in West Philly.
In West
In
Philadelphia.
Winfield.
Wait. So you lived in North Philly,
I
but you...
lived everywhere. My parents were rolling.
Okay.
My parents did not set roots down for
Okay.
us. So we were always rolling. So we lived in Winfield, lived off of 54th and Diamond.
Okay.
I went to Gompers. I lived in Chester for a while, and I went to Booker T. Washington Elementary School.
What grade was that? First, probably?
Second grade.
Okay.
Half a second. I went to T.M. Pierce
Okay.
in North Philly.
Back to North Philly.
Back to North Philly.
Okay, so you went from West Philly.
Went from
Winfield
to Chester.
to Chester.
To back to
North Philly. In
And
2 grades, kindergarten, first and second.
we went to a lot of schools in the beginning. Then I went to T.M. Pierce, which is around the corner from where I lived.
Okay.
And then my mom, the moms on the block, it was the 80s. So
Right.
we had Dr. Constance Clayton, which was like a big time superintendent black woman that everyone loved, but she was like about her business.
Okay.
And they decided to desegregate the schools.
Okay.
So meaning they would bus the children from inside the city to the Northeast.
Okay.
And it was like this desegregation program or something.
Right.
So-
or busing for short.
Busing.
That's how the
So
neighborhood referred to it.
Yep. So ironically, we lived at like 27th and Allegheny. My my grandmother had a house up there. We lived there. Then we moved down to the street that I grew up on, which was Bonsall Street, down 23rd and Lehigh. My grandmother owned a house on that street. So we lived there, and then we moved out of there, and then we came back across the street.
Okay.
So I lived on that block twice, like 2 different houses. And when we moved to the second house, directly across the street from the first house we lived in,
Okay.
that's what we got. My mom kind of was like, I'm not going nowhere. We're just staying here.
Okay.
And so we stayed there. And then
So what was the name of the school you got bused to?
we got bused to the Northeast. So I went to S. Silas Cohen,
S. Silas Cohen.
which was an elementary school.
Okay.
So I went there from about 3rd grade to 5th.
Okay. So you graduated from there.
Graduated from
And you went
there.
to middle school.
Right. And my
So-
class was the first class so elementary school used to go to 6th grade.
Okay.
They decided to include the stop at 5th grade. So my class was the first class that was 5th grade They graduated in 5th grade to go to middle school. So
Okay.
I started middle school in 6th grade, which normally you started in 7th.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had to start in 7th. So we were the first class to go in middle
From
school at
5th to
6th
6th.
grade.
Got it. So out of all your elementary schools, which one did you like the best, if you remember?
I would say Silas Cohen,
Okay.
because I spent more time there, and I made more friends there,
Okay.
and it was out the neighborhood.
How long of a bus ride was it?
It was about 45 minutes,
Both
an
ways.
hour. Yeah, and we had a bus matron named Miss Joyce and the bus driver Julio. We never forget, because it was like we were their children.
Right.
And
right.
everybody rode the bus every year with the same kids every year. And at the end of and she would get up in the front of the bus.
Oh, you had Miss Joyce for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
Yeah, up until we stopped riding the bus.
Right.
And she did not play. She would say, I got rules and regulations.
Okay.
And she would, we used to have to sit on the bus like this all the way up to Northeast. We couldn't turn and talk to nobody. We had to sit like this.
Okay.
And she was serious. And the reward was at the end of the school year, we would have a pizza party. She would
Got
take
it.
us to the park. Our parents had permission. She gave permission slips. They would give her money. No, she treated, I think her and the bus driver, Julio, they would, they took us, and, if you were good, you made the pizza party. If not, they dropped you off home, and then,
So the bus came right in front of your house to pick you up?
right around the corner.
Oh, around the corner.
Yep, right around the corner. Right
So-
in front of the our previous elementary school.
So you walked. You
Yeah,
walked,
walked
or
around
did
the
your
corner.
mom walk with you?
Sometimes in the beginning she would walk. All the moms would walk us, and then I guess as we got older, we just because it was literally right around the corner.
Okay.
It was not far. You could hear the kids at the bus stop from my house,
Got it.
so it wasn't far.
So you graduated from there. Who's all at your graduation, if you recall?
Elementary.
So by the way, your dad had passed away by the time you graduated from 5th grade.
He passed away in '88.
Okay.
Yeah, so I graduated in '89.
Right.
So yeah, he was gone by then.
How would you say that that affected you after looking back?
It affected me because my mother got into another had an overlapping relationship. I guess because my dad was so on and off. My mom got into a relationship with someone, and he was okay, but as a girl, he wasn't dad, and our dad was dad. He came around, everybody knew him, and it was like you couldn't compare to that. So I think I blocked a lot of it out growing up. And let me back up. So at the funeral, my father, my grandfather had children like my dad did. So he had 4 wives and had 1 child with each wife. So I knew my 2 aunts.
Okay.
We spent time with them, and we still stayed with them. But he had a brother that was younger than him. And we didn't know until the funeral about the brother.
Okay.
And the brother came to the funeral. He was about 21. He was young. And I never forget, we was in a limo, and he came over, and he was like, I'm here. I don't remember the exact words he said, but he made his presence known to us. And a year later, he got in contact with our older sister, and she brought him around to our house in North Philly. And he just sat with my mom and sat with us and was like, I'm here. You know, your dad's not. He was my brother. I'm here. And he would bring, he was a teacher.
Okay.
He would bring us flowers. And, he did things, he thought he should do as an uncle. And I was the only one that kind of was intrigued and kind of like, oh, wow, I have an uncle.
Right.
So, and, he's a teacher and he coming to get us and he's taking me to school with him. And so I gravitated towards him more than my sisters did.
Uncle who?
Uncle Jeff.
Shout out to Uncle Jeff.
Yes.
So he wound up being your cool uncle.
He became like a dad.
Okay.
Technically, I mean, he's 14 years older.
So
than
Uncle
me.
Jeff became the father figure
For me.
Okay.
He did. He definitely filled that void that I had, and he came in and he wanted to come in and do it.
Okay,
so
got it.
It wasn't like a forced thing. It was like he wanted to be a presence, and I needed that. I needed that.
Right.
So he was smart. So he gave my first book that I was an avid reader, but he gave me 1984. And he gave me his copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Really?
And I read it. Yeah, I read it. I was like 14, 13.
Okay.
He gave it to me. I read it. And he was,
You read both books, 84 and...
I didn't finish 84.
84 is huge.
Yeah, I didn't finish 84. But it was like his books, he went to Hampton Institute.
Okay.
So, he was Black Power, Black everything.
So you read the whole autobiography of Malcolm X. What'd you think about it?
I didn't know much about Malcolm X at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm trying to remember if I read it before the movie came out. I may have read it around the same time the movie came out.
Which is always good. That's always great when you read the book.
It was. Yeah, because I know it was early in the 90s.
Right.
I might have been in middle school.
Okay.
Or going to middle school. But I don't know. It just it piqued the interest in learning about our people, and like I remember just always gravitating towards Black stuff.
Right.
After that, and wanting to know more about Black stuff, and just especially going to an all white school.
Okay.
You saw the difference.
Got it.
You felt the difference. Like you was able to play. It's like in elementary school. A lot of the kids, they were friends with them. But they can go home for lunch. So you like, can I come with you? Oh, my mom don't want you to come.
Really?
Yeah, told. And it wasn't, I don't think, like I hear stories about people say about the racial overtone.
Right.
And like they felt like they wasn't wanted. No, it was with a smile. So you just was like, oh, okay, they just don't want me coming over. You didn't realize it because you were Black.
Right.
It was just, but then you'll see the other kids being picked up by the same mom and they go home. So, when you look in retrospect, you're like, oh, I see what that was. But being younger, you think it's just because you're not from the neighborhood or they don't know you.
Right.
But it really, it was, Northeast at the time was very segregated and very racial.
Okay.
So, but, you went to school and then you went home. There was no hanging out up
So
here.
you never experienced any direct racism?
No.
Okay.
No direct, but you were friends, but you was only friends while you were in school.
Got it.
If you called the house, or there was no like sleepovers, like come on over. It was our friendship was at school.
So Uncle Jeff was the one who kept you in tune with what was going on with your people and with your history.
He filled me with the knowledge.
Okay.
He kept me with, he wasn't like Black Power, Black Power. It was just, here's the autobiography. What you think about it? And he just kind of guided me. If I had questions, he would answer them, or he would tell me things that he did when he was in college. He always kept me grounded in my Blackness.
And that's
being
great
proud
because
of it.
everybody doesn't have an Uncle Jeff.
No.
Right?
Yes.
So the fact that you had one to come step in was kind of like a godsend.
Yeah. It really, I always say, to be honest with you, I always felt like I was always protected by something, So, like, even when I was born, I was born in a house in a bed. And my aunt, she posted on Facebook, I heard this story hundreds of times growing up. But for someone to write it and post it and me to read it, it just hit different. But she was there when I was born, and she described the whole birth thing and how the neighbor came home from work at the right time and she was a nurse dressed in all white, and she helped deliver me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm always like right on time. So, when my father passed, it was at an age where, you're 10, 11.
You're the most impressionable.
They was about to become a teenager.
Right.
In North Philly in the 80s with a single mother.
In
and
the
your
height
father
of
died.
height of the crack epidemic.
Your father died.
Right.
What could have happened? He came in, and his influence protected me because he showed me, no. And he did it for all of us.
Okay.
But I do believe that my sisters were grieving so much for my father's death that no one could replace him.
Right.
No one could, and no one could replace him to me. But I had someone that I was a thinker. I wanted to seek knowledge.
You were able to relate to him.
I related, and he related.
And
to
he's
me.
in the family.
And he's in the family.
Got
and
it.
he was willing.
So you graduated from elementary school,
And I went to Woodrow Wilson Middle School.
which is where?
In Northeast. I went to school all in Northeast.
Okay, so you still being bussed out.
I'm still being bussed out.
Got
I only
it.
bussed out for 1 year. Then after that, we had to catch the bus. We had to catch public transportation.
Okay.
So 6th grade, we caught the bus.
Is Woodrow Wilson farther than your elementary school?
No, they're all in walking distance.
Okay. Oh, so it's right there. It's the same ride.
The same ride. I mean, a different boulevard, but it's all in the same area.
Okay.
So we caught the school bus, one for the 6th grade. And then after that, we took public transportation.
Okay.
So we had to take a bus, a sub, and another bus.
Okay. So was your middle school experience the same as your elementary school experience? Same kids, same thing?
My middle school experience was more black.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not, there was a lot more black children
Okay.
there. I mean, it was a nice balance, but my elementary school, I just remember it being more white.
Okay.
Middle school was more black.
Okay.
And it could be because the 2 grades had graduated together, so we both went to middle school at the same time, so it was more children. But it was definitely more black. And it was survival of the fittest type
Okay.
thing because we caught the bus.
So let's talk about that for a second. Just your ride to school. Did it now become longer? Because the bus ride was 45 minutes. Now, you would say it again? You had to catch the train,
Okay, so we caught the 54 bus.
which you caught where? How far from your
About
house?
a block.
Okay.
Up the street. And
To catch
we
the
caught
54
that
to where?
To Broad Street.
To
so
Broad
that's
Street.
about 20-something blocks.
Okay.
So we had Broad Street.
So that's about what, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or more in the morning because people
Right.
are going to work. Broad Street is the main line up and down from Philly, North Philly to South Philly.
Right.
So it stops right here in Center City and everything. So you get on the North Philly station, is what it was called.
I think I heard a rumor that, and I could be wrong, I know somebody's going to correct me in the comments, that Broad Street was the longest street in America? Have you ever heard
I
that?
don't think I've ever
It's
heard
definitely
that.
the longest street in Philly.
It's the main artery.
Right.
I always say it's the main artery.
The main artery of Philadelphia.
Yeah,
If you can get to Broad
If you
Street.
get to Broad Street, you can find your way home.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can find your way anywhere. Yeah. But
So you caught the 54 to
we caught
Broad Street.
and we caught the subway all the way to the end. So it was Fern Rock.
The Fern Rock as you.
Right.
So what was your stop?
My stop I got on and off was North Philly. It's called North Philly.
It's called North Philly.
Right.
Okay.
So you had like Allegheny, Area Ave, Hunter Park, Logan Station,
yup, Alany.
Alany. Then it it snaked around to Fern Rock, which was the end of the line. Most people got off at Alany.
So if you happen to be asleep at Fern Rock,
You go to Fern Rock. You just go
It
back
goes
down.
back
It
reverse.
just starts back. You end up
Got
back
it, got
down. Right in reverse. The
how
same
long
train.
a train ride would you say it was?
15 minutes.
Okay.
It was pretty fast because they had 2. They had one local, then they had one like a speed line.
Oh, express.
Yeah, the express. So
Okay.
we can catch the express because it went to Fern Rock anyway. So it depends on whatever one came, you can get on.
Oh, okay, whichever
but
one
if
came
you
first.
waiting for your friends who got on at Huntington Park and it skipped Huntington Park, you just
got it.
on. You just like, all right, I want to do every stop.
So you catch the local.
Right, but if
Got
you
it.
was like in a hurry to get to school or you just didn't want to catch up with nobody and you wanted the quiet ride, you got on the express because it didn't stop everywhere.
Got it.
So,
So you
you
get
know.
off at Fern Rock,
And then we caught the 70.
the 70 bus.
So that's the beginning of, that's like a bus depot, bus hub, Fern Rock is.
Okay.
It's a train hub and a bus hub.
Okay.
So that's the last stop for the buses too. So we
Okay.
took the 54.
So you walk upstairs, down,
Yep,
like
you
how
walk
do you,
upstairs.
you walk upstairs?
Yep, you walk upstairs and then you go to the terminal and you go all the way, oh God, that's about a 30-minute ride, 35-minute ride
Okay.
up the northeast.
So catching the public transportation is definitely longer than the bus.
Oh my God.
Did you
Yeah.
ever have any issues in middle school? Or were you always with a group of other kids where you guys didn't have problems?
I think middle school,
Only because you hear so many horror stories about the subway in Philadelphia.
it was, I remember I got my earrings snatched at
Really?
Broad Street. Yeah, Broad Street before. That was the only time I ever got robbed or semblance of robbery.
Okay.
But no, you just the one good thing, we travel in packs because everyone on our street, we typically all went to school together. So we all went to the same elementary, we all went to the same middle,
Okay.
and mostly all of us went to the same high school.
So how'd you get your earrings snatched? I don't want to skip over that.
So my mom bought me some really nice figure eights, stop
Okay.
sign figure eights.
That all the
and I
girls
had. The
had.
name necklace.
Right.
I was stunting. I had the name figure eights. Figure eights. I had the name necklace with Monica on with the diamond chip in it. And
And they also used to
I think
call
I
the
had
figure
one.
eight swirlies, right? The swirlies.
Swirlies,
Yeah.
depending on if you got them real tight.
Okay.
But mine was like a octagon. shape.
Okay.
And they were big. They were
Oh, like the
pretty
stop
big.
sign. The
They were
stop sign. Okay.
shape, but
Okay.
they were like 5. I never forget because I'm still looking for them. I still want a pair. I still want that
Okay,
pair back.
okay.
And it was like 5 figures and like 5 hoops to make the figure eight in it.
Okay.
And so we go to. I had to be about 7th grade. I was young because a guy went with us, and he's older. He was in high school.
Okay.
So I would catch the bus. No, we came home, and North Philly was like notorious for robberies,
Okay.
especially since you had to go upstairs and you had to catch the 54. And I mean, it was like a mosh pit to get on this bus. Otherwise, you had to wait forever for another one to come, and they were always crowded by the time they got to Broad and Lehigh.
So by the way, when you say go upstairs, so the subway is underground.
Underneath.
You get off the train, you got to walk upstairs to go outside.
All the way upstairs.
Okay,
You
okay.
go outside, and then you walk around to the corner. So now you're on the corner. And it was a deli there. And it was all, like I said, the bus came from, like, the Badlands. So it was already crowded.
What's
so
the Badlands?
Like the Spanish neighborhood. They called it the Badlands.
In North Philly.
In North Philly. So
Okay.
it's like all the letter, Kensington, all the letter streets were down that way.
Oh, okay. So if you
So-
from like A Street.
If you from Kensington Avenue all the way to Broad Street was Spanish and white, maybe Asian, I don't know. But Broad Street up to like the zoo,
Okay.
so like 33 blocks worth of streets is all black neighborhood. So Broad Street divided the neighborhood. So black was on one side and Spanish was on the other.
Really? Okay. Okay.
So we we're coming up, so it was always a lot of people getting off the bus, and you had to kind of push your way on the bus. Otherwise, the alternative was you wait for another one or you just walked 20 blocks, which we did anyway.
Right,
especially if it
right.
was nice out. All right, we walking and we would chuck it all the way. We say chuck it all the way home.
Okay.
So we get out, and I had the earrings on. And
So
I had
you
a
caught the bus
ponytail.
this day though.
Yeah, I caught
Okay,
the
you
bus.
caught
I
the
caught the
bus.
bus every day. Had the earrings on, and the guy was like, "Mommy, take your earrings off. They snatched your earrings today." Like a APB went out. We're snatching your earrings today. So I was like, "Ain't nobody gonna snatch my earrings," Had a ponytail, and we're standing there, and then we go to get on the bus, and I went to step on, and this person came up behind me and just like ripped. And I went back, and I thought it was the guy I was with, because he's always pulled my ponytail.
Right.
And I was like, "Why you pull?" And he was looking at me like, and they were running down the street with my earrings.
Oh wow.
And my ears, I ripped my ears. And I remember I had to hold it in the whole ride home. I had to hold it in because I was like, "My mom gonna be mad," And I remember going in the house, and we had like this little vestibule. And I held it in, and when I walked through the door, I just fell out like, "Mom, they robbed me. She was like, "What?" She thought I got shot. She was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "They snatched my earrings." She was like, "Girl, you shouldn't have been wearing them. You knew you shouldn't have been wearing them." And the guy came down. He lived up the street from me. He came down to check on me. And my father's friend was like a probation officer. So I called him, and he was like, "Oh, I'll put a report out," But you couldn't do anything.
Right.
They were gone.
You ain't know who it was.
So that was my first.
Talking about who was your man's that was with you though?
Exactly.
Like son.
Exactly, Jay. I'm not gonna say your whole name, but Jay, you could have my back.
Come
a little
on,
more than
Jay.
That. Yeah, you can have my back a little more than that. But he did tell me.
He warned
said, "Monty, you might not want to wear your earrings up to they snatch your earrings today," and I just didn't believe him because at that time, like, nothing really happened to me. So
maybe that was your warning. Maybe he did.
And I learned then I would wear one earring because that was the thing. You just wore one, just one earring because they couldn't take one.
Right.
And then they got to a point
So
where
time out. Your earrings get snatched. Were your ears like bleeding?
Yeah, they ripped, but they didn't rip it. They just bled.
Okay.
It just bled.
Okay.
So you evolve to one earring, or just taking them off all the way together. And
Got
that's
it.
what
When
I
you
would
walking
do.
home.
Yeah, when we get off the 54, people start packing their stuff up.
Really?
If you got to go on subway, start taking your earrings off, taking your rings off.
Like on Friday, Debo coming.
Exactly. Exactly. Then when you got to your block, you start putting things back on. Because it's like, well, who's going to see it? You know what I mean? So you just kind of got a common sense about yourself. Like, what's worth it? Is it worth getting robbed or worth keeping your stuff?
Okay.
So you kind of had to, you had to really be smart. So that's what we did. We just took our stuff off.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
So you graduate from middle school.
So I graduated from middle school. Then I go to Northeast High School, which was right down the street.
So you went to the same middle school all 3 years, and you went to the same high school all 4 years.
Yep. I went to
So
the same high school.
the upper half of your childhood was kind of stable in terms of where you lived. And the schools you went to.
Yeah, we stayed. Yeah, and a lot of it was by this point it was my choice.
Okay. So you didn't have to go to Northeast.
No. Meaning, well, I could have went somewhere else.
So let me ask you this question. You're from as you said, 23rd in Lehigh?
Mm-hmm.
What's the neighborhood school there?
Dobbins, which is Votech.
Well, the vocational, all right, so
I should've went
that's
to
the,
Votech.
no, I'm
Yeah.
saying that's the vocational school. What's the neighborhood public high school?
Oh, Gratz.
Gratz. Okay, got it.
Gratz.
So you had a choice between, well, from my other interviews is you have a choice, obviously, between your neighborhood school and then you can apply to schools like Girls High.
Right.
You can apply to Bodine.
Right. I wanted the Bodine, Fells, and I can't think of the other.
University.
Not University.
Engineering and
City,
Science.
Not ENS.
Okay.
No, it was pretty much Bodine because they were the international school.
Right.
So I was like, I want to travel.
So you applied to Bodine.
So I applied to Bodine, and I just went to Northeast. It was just easier. It was like a default. Like my mom wasn't really hands on with school.
Got it.
I had to it was up to me.
Okay.
Where I wanted to go.
Okay.
So I just kind of defaulted to Northeast. Everyone else was going there. I knew the area.
Okay.
And it was like, all right, just go.
Okay.
So I went.
So you spent 4 years there. What was your high school experience like?
I grew up.
Okay.
The same friends that I had from elementary to middle school. Because we had such a large class come in, my class was such a large incoming 9th grade class.
Okay.
That they split our arrival times up. So I came at like 8:45.
Okay.
In the morning, whereas everyone else had to be there at 6:50 or something like that. So they staggered the arrivals. So I came early. I came 8:45. I left at 3:45. So I had the late lunch and everything.
Okay.
So I had to make all new friends because most of the people I went with were early. They arrived earlier. And that caused a lot of friction because, they were cliquish. So it's like, well, we came here.
High school is very cliquish.
Very. And because all of us were bused to the Northeast, all of us came from different neighborhoods. So, you had one neighborhood beefing with another, but then you go to school and you hang with them. It was like, well, who you want to hang with? People, you had to really decide who you were going to hang with.
What were some of the other neighborhoods?
Mount Airy, Germantown, West Philly, South Philly, both sides of the Badlands and our side, North Philly. I mean,
It was like take
every
your
section.
pick.
It was every section. You had somebody from every section.
Okay.
So, I was pretty much by myself. So I had to kind of regroup and get a whole new crew of people. So I connected with some girls from Mount Airy, which were considered the pretty girls, you know, the bougie girls or
Right.
whatever. And my grandmother lived in Mount Airy, so I was up there anyway. So it was kind of like it worked out because after
Okay.
school I can go home with them and then go to my grandmom's house.
Still your homegirls to this day?
Yeah.
Shout out some of them.
Yeah, Aljanine, Macbeth, she's down in Virginia. The twins, Patrina, we
Shout
still
out.
cool with them.
Both of their names are Patrina?
They're twins. They were twins.
And their name is the same?
Patrina.
Oh, with a B and a P.
Patrine and Patrina.
Oh, Patrine
So
and
the E and the
Patrina.
A.
Got it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Patrina.
And oh God, it was a lot. Jamil, he's been the longest friend I've had since second grade.
Really? Shout out
Up
to
until
Jamil.
now, yeah. So he's been the constant friend
Okay.
out of all my school experience.
Okay.
But so I had to find out who I was by myself.
I was about to say, do you feel like it helped you or it hurt you?
I felt like it helped me. It helped me with my identity. Like, oh, you cool by yourself. You know, you can make friends. So I was okay with making friends. But it was, you know, I don't like the girls you're hanging with. You still be our friend type thing kicked in.
Okay.
So, but what they didn't realize was the girls that I was hanging with were fighters. Oh, they did not play. You know, they were pretty, and I think it kind of took everybody aback. Like, oh, wait a minute. So what they would do, and they, you know, if it's either you really, really like me or you really, really didn't.
Okay.
They really, really liked me,
Got
and
it.
I really liked hanging with them. So I think a part of them felt like they had to protect me.
What was it about them that you like? What was it about them that you like so much?
They didn't live in my neighborhood, so I was able to go to their house, and just experience different things. You know,
Okay.
Patrina twins, they were Jamaican, so they taught me how to butterfly, and you know, they were like authentically Jamaican, like
Right.
they spoke patois at home and everything.
Okay.
And they just do hair, so they still do hair now, but they would do my hair in these ponytails,
Right.
you know. So it was just like hanging with kids from school that did things other than fight or did other things that, you know, not that everyone in my neighborhood did that, but it was just a chance for me to get out of my neighborhood and hang with someone else and see how
What
they
was it
lived.
like academically?
Northeast?
Yes.
The cream rose to the top.
Okay.
You know, it was a challenge because I was quiet. So because I was quiet, I wouldn't ask questions enough. So sometimes I would fall behind because I wouldn't ask questions. I was very timid, and I was like, if I ask a question, they're going to know I don't know it, and they're going to think I'm dumb, and it was like an insecurity type thing. So I tried really, really hard on my own. So I would like read dictionaries on the way home from school. You know, I would read at the stores. I remember one year my stepfather bought me this little handheld. I still have it to this day. This little handheld electronic dictionary.
I know what you're talking about. I remember those.
I loved it because it would have like hangman, and it would have like anagrams. It would have all these different games on it, and I would play them on the bus ride, you know, home, and built my vocabulary.
Okay.
So I got labeled a nerd because I would always read. My mom bought me dictionaries for Christmas one year.
I told somebody today, everybody's a nerd for something. Even if you're a drug dealer in the streets, you're a nerd for that. You know? So all that, like, everybody's a nerd for some people. The people who are labeled a nerd for learning are like, that's the most common.
Right.
But everybody's a nerd for something. If you got a shoe fetish and every time you get money you got to go buy some sneaks, then you a sneaker nerd. If you love cars, then you a car nerd. Everybody's a nerd. It's just like everybody likes something.
That's the interest you have, and if you have an interest, you're going to study up on it.
Exactly.
And my interest was reading
Right.
and words. I was never strong in math.
Okay.
Which ironically, I'm a math teacher now.
That is very ironic.
But it was reading and writing was always my strong suit.
Okay.
So I would read the thesaurus, like page by page.
Got it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it came from Malcolm X, because I remember reading that in his book, how he read the dictionary, you know. So
He did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and I read
okay.
that in the that's how when he went to prison, he read the dictionary starting from aardvark all the way down to xenophobia or something, wherever Z was.
Right, right.
But yeah, so I just read it, and then I got a real liking to novels, particularly
Okay.
black novels. So I was reading what's her name? Waiting to Excel. I can't think of her name right now. I was reading her in middle school, which I shouldn't have been. I should have been reading Waiting to Excel in middle school.
Right, right,
But
right.
I read that I was just always like an avid reader to the point where I would get teased because I would sit and read on the steps.
Terry McMillan, Waiting to
Terry
Excel.
McMillan, yeah.
Yes.
I would just read all the time. And reading gave me an escape, and it was a solace. It was like I can go by myself. I don't talk to anybody.
Okay.
And I can read. And I like this book, and I can carry it with me. And it was like
Right.
my friend, and then I
Okay.
journaled. Always I had a journal. When my father passed away, my mother's brother gave me a journal.
Okay.
And I still have the journal to this day.
Cool.
And I've always journaled along with my reading. So I always had a way to occupy myself if I had to be by myself.
Got it.
So even with me going to school at that late hour, it didn't matter because I enjoyed the bus ride by myself. I had my headphones on. I had the freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Your headphones on, listening to what?
Walkman. I don't remember what I would listen to. The Boys. I had the Boys CD. I don't know. It was a lot of, whatever at that time, homemade mixtapes.
Okay.
But I was able to just be by myself
Got it.
and not have to talk to anybody. So
Even though you had a squad, you had your little team,
yeah,
you were a loner.
always been.
At heart.
I always was able to run in and out of groups
Okay.
without having an established set group.
Do you feel that North Philly taught you that how to adapt? Like you said,
Yeah.
the neighborhood you grew up in was like Crooklyn.
Yeah.
That was a million different people on one block. Different types of people, right?
Yeah.
On one block in the hood, you got athletes, you got thugs, you got homosexuals, you got the religious people, you got the nerds, like you say, you got the cool people, the hustlers, the
You got
so many different types of people.
Yeah, and the way my neighborhood was, it was block by block.
Right,
So
exactly.
you had a little square 2-block radius. If you went down to the third block, that's a whole nother neighborhood in
Right,
a way.
right.
And you had to know somebody to go down there to be okay.
Right.
So my street I grew up on, we pretty much grew up together. So we were like family. But, I would have summers where no one would speak to me. I felt like, looking back, it may have just been in my head. But during that time, I felt like people I was friends with and I grew up with, the summertime would come and something would happen and they would not speak to me anymore. They would talk to my sisters, but they wouldn't talk to me. They would kind of like shun me.
And you had no problem with this.
Well, at first I did because I didn't understand. I was like, why is nobody, we used to play rope. Now they don't want to play rope with me anymore.
Right.
And then when I was about middle school, about 12, 13, this girl used to walk past my street all the time. And I thought she was so pretty. She was dark skinned, thin. She thought she was so pretty. And one day we spoke. And then she was like, well, come around my house. She lived on the corner. And I would walk right around the corner of her house. And she had 2 brothers. And, she was by herself. Like, this only girl. And I would just go around there and hang with her. And then she would take me to her friend's house or her cousin's house. So that kind of started me expanding off my street.
Got it.
And then when I was in ninth, around the same time, the 9th grade, so I met new people in these other part of the city. So I'll come home and be like, Mom, I'm not coming home today. I'm staying up Mount Airy. Or
Okay.
I'll be, I'm staying at so-and-so house.
So your homegirl that introduced you to everybody, you still cool with her?
No.
No, okay.
But that's
No
that's
problem,
okay.
no
Yeah,
problem.
it's girl part. But that was just my first introduction of making friends off my block,
Got it.
expanding.
Because when you grow up in the city like that, your block is kind of your world.
It is. And my block was popular. Everybody used to rock because there was a lot of girls, and it was pretty girls and
Right.
guys. So they would just always run on our street all the time.
Okay.
So, everyone came to us, so we didn't really have to go anywhere.
Did you
So,
work in high school?
I worked in the summertime.
Do you remember your first job?
Yes.
Okay, where'd you work?
My first job was shampooing hair at it was a black-owned hair school that owned a hair salon right down here Broad and Chestnut.
On Broad and Chestnut.
Called
Okay.
Donahue's PhD.
Donahue's PhD.
I'll never forget it.
Okay.
Okay, let me back up. So my uncle's mother, I met her, and she was the chief city solicitor for Philadelphia.
Is this Jeff's mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Say it again. She was the chief
city solicitor for Philadelphia.
What does that mean?
So she did the claim. She was the lead on all the claims against the city.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
she ran that office. She was an attorney, a lawyer. So she would have me come down in the summertime and like put papers in order, chronological order for her, and pay me like $20 at the end of the week. You know?
Right.
I mean, but it wasn't even it was nothing but tokens and something to eat.
Okay.
But
tokens for
to get back and forth, to catch the bus back
okay.
and forth.
Got it.
But it was enough. Because it got me up in the morning. I got up in the morning. I caught the bus. I was around other attorneys, around other professionals, and they would talk to me. And they were like really interested, and they would take me around and take me to lunch. And I'm like 11, 12. I have a picture. I'll give you a picture. But like 11 and 12, and they didn't like get out of here, kid. It was like, oh, come on in. And I'm in this big attorney's office, you know, and they doing depositions. I sat on depositions at 11, 12.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, you can come in and sit. Like, to me, that was a big thing because I didn't even know what a deposition was. And then to go and tell someone, I sat in a deposition. It was like,
for somebody watching this who doesn't know, what is a deposition?
It's just like a interview attorneys, and they come together and they ask questions. Predisposed, like to see the facts of the case
before you go to court.
Right.
Right.
And so I'm sitting in depositions, and then like the following year she had me be like the courier. So I would, because it's before email.
Right.
I would take the little manila envelopes, and she was, this has to go to City Hall. This has to go to the judge's office. This has to go here. So I was the one that would take all the mail and run around the city and drop it. Take it to the municipal service building or wherever it had to go.
So you did that for a couple of years, and then you
did
the
that
shampoo.
for like 2 years.
2 years, and then you were the shampoo
I turned
girl.
14.
Okay.
My father's friend, he was a probation officer, but he also did hair shows on the side.
Okay.
So he would like MC hair shows. So he would he introduced me to this family.
Okay.
And that was my first paycheck job.
Nice.
So I would come down and I would shampoo hair for them.
So you graduate from Northeast in what year?
96.
96. Okay. So you basically came to life in the 90s. In the 90s. Do you have a worse childhood day or time period that you would like to forever forget?
Worse. Probably my stepfather. It wasn't worse. It was just it exposed me to real life. He had trouble with substance abuse and mental health. And he would every now and again cycle, which means like he would go through his phases. And when he would go through the phases, we had to barricade ourselves in the house because he would try to get in and he wouldn't get out. It was embarrassing because everyone saw it and there was nothing we could really do. And because he had the substance abuse, it was hard to get him help for the mental health because when he would, sober up, he was afraid he was going to relapse by taking the medication. So it was really hard for him to comprehend that he needed the medication to keep him from substance abuse. So it was like a cycle for him.
Got it.
And it would happen maybe once or twice a year, guaranteed. To happen. But he would, it was embarrassing because the police would be called. People had to call the police, and he would have to be 302'd. And it was...
What's 302?
Involuntary commitment.
Okay.
So basically, you're harming yourself and other people. And they would release him after 48 hours because they knew him and they knew he wasn't going to hurt anyone. He never hurt anyone. But he had to come down. They had to medicate him to come down. But, he would do things, like strip, then everybody's like, oh, that's your stepdad. They would tease you about it.
Right.
But, So I can't say there was like one bad day.
Right, but that was whenever that
moments.
happened.
Whenever
you're like,
that
I would
happened,
like
it
to.
was really like, oh.
So you've had some interesting experiences with men, including losing your father at an early age. You had Uncle Jeff. You had your stepdad who was going through whatever demons he was going through. Do you think that this like affected your relationships with men as you got older and started picking guys for yourself?
Yeah.
How so?
I started looking for men that were going to protect me
Okay.
in a way. So, well, I know in the beginning I didn't know my worth. So, I would, if I knew a guy was dating a girl, I would creep with him. It was never like, it wasn't sexual. Like I didn't become sexually active until later, like almost in my 20s, believe it or not. But it was more like taking me out or buying me things. That's what I kind of went for. So they would, come and get me at night and we'd literally go for a ride. And people assumed
That's y'all was
things
getting it
were
in.
doing stuff.
Right.
And it really wasn't. It was like they could be the hardcore biggest drug dealer or street person, and we would ride down Kelly Drive or Lincoln Drive, and they would talk about how much they missed their mom,
Really?
Or and we had we would go to the zoo.
Dudes wouldn't pressure you to have sex?
No, never. But people assumed they did because it didn't make sense.
Because you were one of the pretty girls and you with the guys who have all the girls.
Well, the neighborhood mentality was everybody's doing it.
Right.
So you can't be the only one not. Like, why are you not and everybody else is?
Yeah.
But that was because people didn't know me either. And I was quiet.
Okay.
So, it was a lot of stereotyping and typecasting.
Okay.
But no, I can tell, I know everybody, So it wasn't anything, it really was because I didn't have the father-daughter bond.
Right.
Even though I had my uncle, I still didn't have the father-daughter bond. And I didn't have brothers.
So let's flip it. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't have brothers.
Right. So it was more like I needed that male energy feedback.
Got it.
I liked hanging with them. And because I wasn't like everyone else, they liked hanging with me.
Let's flip it. Do you have a favorite time period or day in your childhood that you would love to go back to if you could?
Yeah. My mom used to take us to New York, to her father's house.
Okay.
He lived at 100 and, oh gosh, what is it? I used to say this street all the time. It was right there in Spanish Harlem.
Okay.
As soon as you come off the George Washington Bridge. 131st, something in Amsterdam. I can't think of the number street right now.
Okay.
And we used to go there in the summer and stay like a week or two. And that's when my mom would just she would just give us tokens to get on the subway system.
Right.
And be like, find your way back. And me and my sister, my younger sister, we would go and like there was kids in the building. And
Okay.
they was Dominicans. They would take us around and we just had fun. We just was able to live.
Got it.
And be free. And, New York is so, like, compared to someone from down south, Philly is, like, wow. But
Right.
then when you go to New York, it's, like, it's overwhelmingly bigger. It's
Philly
like,
times 10.
Yeah,
Right,
it's like,
right.
wait a minute, y'all really be living like y'all ain't got no parents. Like, y'all just rolling out. So, it was just fun.
Got it.
Because you really got to know who you were and you sharpen your skills and your instincts. So, I would say, I grew up. When I would go away in the summertime, I was up there and then come back, and it was like they would look at North Philly as a little small town. Like, I just came from up New York. Like, y'all doing this is small town stuff. So it really boosted my confidence a lot when I would go and come back.
What is your overall perception of how your childhood affected your life? Like, who is the person you are today, and how did North Philly and your childhood mold this person?
It makes me, I'm more understanding, less judgmental.
Okay.
And I can go to neighborhoods and understand what's going on, and really understand that everyone is living, you know, and there's no certain way you have to live for it to be right. You just have to be a good person. You have to
Okay.
be a good person. How it shaped, I'm still trying to figure out how it shaped me. I know I've had people tell me when I tell them I'm from North Philly, they're like, no, you're not. They don't believe me. They don't believe me at all.
Right.
But no, it's a lot of us that came
Right.
out of North Philly and went away and did something. And, you know, North Philly is not, there's not a type. There's not a type.
Okay.
Great
Because people think like if you're from North Philly, you
that
gangster,
you
you
shaking
on some
and you
right,
fighting.
right.
No, it really wasn't. Mhm. It really wasn't. I'm proud to be from North Philly. I really am proud to say I was from, especially the time that I grew up there. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how it shaped me.
If you could give advice to a younger Monica, you pick the age. What age would she be, and what would you tell her?
16. And I would tell her, don't limit yourself. Open your mouth. Talk to people. People are willing to help you. And you are going to do great things. You just have to have the confidence that you can do it. And not to feel sorry for everyone. You're not leaving anyone behind if you succeed. That's what I
Monica,
would tell her.
we appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.